across the ages, billions of men and women have told themselves the following lie. It doesn't hurt to look. And they usually chase that with, well, you can look, but you can't touch. Well, not according to Jesus. Hey guys, welcome to our special series here at 30 on Thursdays in which we focus on Jesus' world-famous teaching known as the Sermon on the Mount. Pastor David here with you, and in this week's episode, Jesus continues his full court press by talking about yet another heavy hitter, lust. Yes, Jesus shifts the focus of his sermon from the stubbornness of anger last week to the detriment of lust this week. But it's his solution for this problem that leaves some wondering if the cure might be worse than the disease. Here, take a listen for yourself. You have heard that it was said, "You shall not commit adultery." But I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lustful intent has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Now, if your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. For it is better that you lose one of your members than that your whole body be thrown into hell. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. For it is better that you lose one of your members than that your whole body go into hell. So Jesus introduces the topic of adultery with the exact same words he used to introduce murder in the previous section. You have heard that it was said. Now again, Jesus is referencing the Old Testament law, this time Exodus 20 verse 14, where God explicitly says, "You shall not commit adultery." Now most people know what adultery is, and by most people I mean everyone except for Bill Clinton, and they even know why God prohibited adultery. God banned adultery in order to honor and preserve the sanctity of marriage. See, marriage, it's built on a covenant, and our God is a covenantal God. Because God keeps his promises, we're expected to keep our promises. But look at what Jesus says immediately after repeating the law. Once again, he follows up the well-known command from the Old Testament by saying, "But I say to you," and then goes on to declare, "Everyone who looks at a woman with lustful intent has already committed adultery with her in his heart." You heard that correctly. Jesus said looking was sinful if that looking was lustful. Now, just to be clear, there's nothing wrong with seeing a woman. After all, they're pretty much everywhere these days. Jesus wasn't condemning eyesight. He was denouncing the I likey that comes with it. Oh, and ladies, the same thing applies to you as well. Jesus talked about looking lustfully at women because he was talking to a group of men when he said this, his disciples. But make no mistake, Jesus has the same standard of righteousness for all of us, regardless of our gender. Now, while we're stating the obvious, we should note that Jesus did not say that looking with lust was the same as adultery. See, plenty of sinners have made that mistake, and after, getting in trouble with their eyes, they go ahead and act on their lust because they think, well, Jesus said it's the same thing, so I might as well go ahead and do the deed. Jesus did not say that. He said both were sinful, but one is far more painful and disastrous than the other. Like, guys, there's a big difference between lusting over a person and committing adultery with that person, just like there's a huge difference between hating a person and actually killing that person. Now, all right, I know that shocks some people, but Jesus isn't done. The only thing more surprising than his standard for sexual purity was his solution for guarding it. He says, look, if your eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. And if your hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away as well. Here's why. It's better to lose a part of your body than to have your whole body thrown into hell. Whoa. Okay, right? This is harsh. Gouge out an eye, cut off a hand. Is Jesus being serious here? Yeah, Jesus is being quite serious. But he's not literally suggesting that we mutilate our bodies either. And we know that for at least two reasons, okay? First, if you gouge out an eye, you cut off one hand, guess what? You got another eye, you got another hand that can just as easily lead you into sin. Pretty soon, there won't be anything left of you except for like a lustful earlobe, all right? And second, the Apostle Paul, whose teachings always agreed with the teachings of Jesus, primarily because he received his teachings from Jesus, he denounced mutilation of the flesh in Colossians chapter 2. Guys, Jesus never thought that eyes or hands were responsible for lust. He knew where the problem was, in our hearts. I mean, even Hank Williams knew that, right? That world famous philosopher once saying, "Your cheating heart will tell on you." As usual, guys, Jesus is talking about our hearts, and he says this to call us to action. Drastic action if need be, because he knows what's on the line. Did you catch the fact that Jesus mentioned hell twice in this passage? In back-to-back subjects, last week and this week, Jesus clearly communicates that eternity is on the line when it comes to sin, be it lust or anything else. So don't try and tell Jesus, "Oh, it doesn't hurt to look." He'll reply that it'll hurt to look for all of eternity if you don't seek the forgiveness that he offers. Are you starting to see just how important Jesus is? So guys, what should we make of this teaching? What should we do as a result of this part of Jesus' message? Well, here are a few quick takeaways that will hopefully help you prevail over lust and deal with that wretched sin. First, adopt Jesus' stance on all forms of sexual immorality, whether it's adultery or lust or pornography or fornication or child trafficking, pedophilia, whatever it may be. His position needs to be your position, and here's why. His teaching will help you guard your heart, so follow Jesus' lead. And second, make a covenant with your eyes. That's what Job said he did in chapter 31 of the book that bears his name. He made a covenant with his eyes not to look at a woman lustfully. And he did that because he knew that an ungodly focus could easily lead him to sexual immorality. Guys, you cannot act on what you do not see. And third, flee sexual immorality and get extreme if necessary. Friends, all across Scripture, God treats sexual sin differently than all other sin. Jesus' words here should make that point crystal clear. So, if you need to cut the cord on your internet, do it. If you need to go back to a flip phone, then downgrade. If you need to change your circle of friends or even your job, do that as well. Do not be afraid of choosing the nuclear option when it comes to sexual temptation, because you cannot afford the collateral damage of sexual immorality. All right, guys, I know that we moved fairly quickly through a massive topic, which means that there was plenty more that we could have discussed. Fortunately for you, though, we've got 2 resources to share with you this week. In addition to our usual Bible study down in the description box below, you can also grab a copy of Censoring Jesus, in which I devote an entire chapter to this passage. The Amazon link for the book will also be down in the description box below, but you can reach out to us, contact us for savings in case you need to place a bulk order for the book. Okay, guys. You've got all the tools necessary to squeeze all the meaning out of this teaching. So check out the Bible study down below, or the book, or both, and we'll meet you right back here for the very next part of Jesus' Sermon on the Mount.